If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? Welcome to another edition. Well, it's the real estate only edition of the Ron and Don Show. And we are back in the Team Lisa
With a Y.
.com studios. That's Team Lisa
With a Y.
.com studios. Ron, what do we have today on the real estate only show?
Yeah, it's our real estate only show. If you subscribe to Apple News, this probably popped up in your news feed. Or if you're online and you're around Market Watch. So it's a Market Watch stories, and it goes through a bunch of different data. But the thing when it gets to Seattle, and this is a direct quote from the article, home prices falling faster in Seattle than all other big cities.
If you want to see this, it's beautifully illustrated by Ron. Go to Spotify or go to YouTube. This is something that you should actually watch and you should look at.
So a direct quote from the article, home prices falling faster in Seattle than all other big cities. And so when you read that headline or you read the article, it seems very doom and gloom. And so I wanted to do a big breakdown onto what this means for Seattle and see if the sky is falling, basically. And so what I did here to just describe what's happening. So in the article, they quote a Case-Shiller study. So Case-Shiller is a research firm that does a lot of stuff on the economy and the housing sector specifically. And so it is a prestigious study. Economists pay attention to it. The government pays attention to it. When the Case-Shiller studies come out, it's usually the most reliable data that we have. So what they did in the large city category is they said this is year over year. When you put the houses in the funnel from last year to this year, Seattle went down 2.3%, and the city that had the biggest increase among the large cities was Chicago at 6.5%.
And we would be the 12th largest metro. Chicago would be the third largest metro. So probably double our size.
Right. And so you look at this data, and I will say, I'm not going to be a total Pollyanna here. Stuff has changed dramatically in Seattle in the last 6 to 12 months. And so we are seeing a different climate. But when I looked at this, I was like, okay, what does this mean? And so the first thing that it means, and I found this to be, and we talk about this all the time, is when you look at a study like Case-Shiller, they're trying to take the entire Puget Sound area and distill it down to one number, minus 2.3. And so what Don always talks about when I talk about is, well, it depends. Pierce County is different than Island County. The east side is different than Seattle. Condos are different than houses. There's a lot of different neighborhoods, and sometimes you can be on on one side of the line for a school district can make a huge difference. And so just as an example, I didn't go through all the sub-communities, but Seattle's down 2.3, but if you break it down by neighborhood, Northeast Seattle year over year was up 4.1%. Downtown Seattle in the core, which is mostly condos, is down 7.1%. So when you flatten it all out into one number, yes, it's minus 2.3. And so it is definitely way different than Chicago, whose median is up 6.5. So let's talk about what this means. So I went and started doing some research, and I said, well, let's go back. This is a snapshot from 2024 or 2025 to 2026. This number represents a year. What if we looked at 10 years, or we go back to 2016? So show me what happens there. So what I did is I did some calculations, and I said, well, what is the median house in 2016? How much did it increase to 2026? And how does that compare with Chicago? So Chicago in 2016, 10 years ago in Chicago, the median price of a house is $240,000 of a lot. That includes everything. The median price in Seattle in 2016 was $437,000, so almost double. Then when we flash forward through these years, you see this blue line is Seattle, and it had a way wilder ride than Chicago. Chicago is relatively steady as it moves up. So Chicago, yes, has gone up in the 65 percentile, but Seattle's up almost 120. So the house in Seattle went from valuing $437,000 to $879,000 for a gain. This is real dollars. Your house in Seattle, on average, gained $459,000. Your house in Chicago, on average, since 2016, you gained $180,000. So if you do the increase, the Chicago house in the last year went up $27,000. Your house value in Seattle going minus 2.3, you lost $20,000, but you gained $459,000. So that went down to $439,000. And your house that's in Chicago went from 180 to 200. So in terms of real dollars that you would put in your pocket, 2.3% represents less in dollars than less in loss than Chicago made in gains. Did I explain that clearly at all?
Yeah, you did, and I think, even going back to the Seattle numbers, buying a single family home 10 years ago for $437,
it wasn't going to happen.
It's not going to happen 10 years ago, and so you have to start looking at how are condos and shared walls showing up here. And in Seattle, versus Chicago, those numbers are very, very different.
And that's important when Case Shiller boils everything down to this one number. You're exactly right. It's including the $315,000, condo that's 400 square feet. It's including that in that number.
Yeah, and Chicago's going to have a lot more of that inventory. And then just being born there and growing up there for the early part of my life, I like to go out to certain addresses, like my grandparents' address or our old address. And virtually since 1976, 75, when we left there, and I've shared this before, my parents' house, I looked it up, they bought it for $34K if they were going to buy it, and that was being the 70s. If they were going to repurchase that house today, it's still not worth $100,000.
Right.
So... And that's tract housing, in a northern suburb of Chicago. So the housing itself is just different.
Let's talk about
a lot of this fruit is not even the same fruit basket.
So the spirit of the article, if we disregard the actual dollar amounts for a second, and when MarketWatch says home prices are falling faster in Seattle, have you seen price drops more frequently than you had a year ago? Are you seeing prices? What are you seeing price-wise?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm seeing, like in Kirkland, for instance. What I'm seeing over there is I'm seeing a lot of homes come on that people have been waiting, and you can tell that this is... In some of these neighborhoods where like in Juanita, there's not a lot of homes being torn down there. But there's a lot of split-level homes there that all were built by some of the same builders. And instead of tearing those homes down and building new homes, the builders aren't doing that. If you get down more toward downtown Kirkland and west and east of Market, that's certainly happening, but not up in Juanita. What I am seeing is I'm seeing a lot of homes, like those split-level homes in neighborhoods where builders aren't buying. I'm seeing almost a panic sale right now, where I'm seeing a lot of homes come on around the $1.2 million mark, and these homes during COVID might have sold for $1.5 million. I think of some of the homes that were selling in Bellevue, that were starter homes that were selling for $1.7 million, $1.8 million. So I see a panic right now with people
in that price point,
at that price point, that have used that house, and there's a lot of that inventory that's there. And I went by 3 of those homes today, and these are homes that are $1 million to $1.2 million, and they're just sitting on the market.
Well, and you look at Redmond. I just did a study for a client. Redmond condos right now, there are more condo inventory, the highest condo inventory in Redmond proper, the city of Redmond, than in the last 10 years. More condos available. And so what does that do when you have high inventory is your days on market goes up and your price softens because buyers have much more choices. So it's not. I'm not saying that this article is in the spirit of the article is wrong. I think it's important to know what the numbers are. And we have a good friend, a respected agent named Javila that we used to work with, one of the best agents in the state of Washington. She just posted a video online where I watched where she said, hey, I brought this townhome on. My seller wanted to get that 2022 number, so that's what we listed at right here. And she's like, and we didn't get that number. So here's what we're doing now. And she just opened the curtain and showed you what their strategy was. And she's like, we wanted to start at that 2022 number and we didn't get it. And so now we've done price improvements, and she highlighted some of the features of this property. And I respected the fact that she did that, to just say, this is what the client wanted. The client wanted that number, and it didn't happen. And so there's a lot of people like that you just have that bias mentally. And I went through this when I sold my property in Burien, is I saw my Redfin email every month. And I remember 2022 when it was, getting into a certain number. I was like, that's great, man. If I could sell it for that, that's incredible. And you do the back of the napkin math where you're like, here's my mortgage, that's what it sell for. And you have this imaginary number, this pile of money that you think you're going to get, but it's not real yet. But in some way, you can't stop yourself from going, oh, maybe I would take that trip to Europe. Maybe I'll buy my son a new truck. Or maybe, you start to spend that money in a way.
Yep.
What would I do with this money when I eventually sell it? And then when it came time for me to sell it, that number didn't exist anymore. So I listed it at the top of what I thought today's range was, and there was no interest. So I immediately dropped it and was able to sell it. But as even me going through this data week in and week out in the real estate show, I still wanted to reach for the top end of the range, and I did, and the market said no. And it was an emphatic no. I had 0 showings in that first week. And so I had to take my own advice and go, all right, I was wrong. Like, I thought the number was here. It's not there. And so when you have this imaginary number that you've been going over every single month, and some people do it more frequently than a month. They look at their numbers all the time, maybe weekly. You have this number in mind. That's not a guarantee. But what I think is important to remember is when you're reading these things, and they show you Raleigh, North Carolina, or they show you Chicago, or they show you a city like Boise,
Grand Rapids,
Michigan, or they show you, Austin, Texas. Each one of those, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing in terms of raw dollars. So would I rather take a 6.5 increase on 180 grand or a 2.3% loss on 459? I'm signing up for the 459 all day long. I would much rather have $430,000 than $200,000.
Yeah. And we're in a market right now where if you're on the buying side, you want a deal or you want something that's unique and turnkey, right? So we're working on a couple homes right now that we're getting ready to bring to market here in the next week or so. I just told the sellers everything in these homes has to be perfect, and it's not good. We did a blue tape walkthrough on one of the homes. I think we did our 5th one this morning because it has to be perfect. It has to be dialed in.
Don, what's a blue tape walkthrough?
Yeah, it's a good question. Usually when you buy a new house, the builder has an obligation to make sure that they provide a warranty. It used to be 5 years. A lot of times now it's just a year. And so what you want to make sure that you do, and don't pass on this, is that you walk through with them. You walk through with the builder.
You have a roll of painter's tape.
Yeah, and it's blue. And any blemishes that you see or something you don't like, or let's say that they had promised a waterfall on a certain countertop and the waterfall's not there, you'll just mark that with blue tape and take pictures of it. We try to do the same thing with our clients when we're working on homes, because a lot of the homes that we work on, we have to do some deep work. And we want to make sure at the end of that we get with the contractor and that we get with our client and that we're there as well. And we'll go through and do a blue tape walkthrough. So sometimes we did a blue tape walkthrough. I did one on my own at a house probably 10 days ago. And I had 89 things that were on my list that we needed to fix and take care of. I had it down to 24 yesterday and down to just one thing this morning. So I'll share that list with the client. That way they feel like they're a part of it. Sometimes they don't know what to look for. And in this particular case, our clients have been really great teammates and did the blue tape walkthrough with us. So you want to make sure before you pay the contractor that last dollar or dime while you're still standing there that you've walked through, instead of waiting until you've written your final check and then you walk through. That's a bad time to do it, because it's hard to get the contractor to come back out.
In those cases, which is weird with looking at this whiteboard that we just did, where you're still seeing multiple offers. Like I walked through a house the other day with some buyers, and there was some stuff in there that they scared them a little bit. And they said, well, let's see what happens on the offer review. Multiple offers went above list price. They waived inspection. Buyer we just talked about in last week's episode. 7 offers above list price, waived inspection. Listing we had down on Angle Lake, above multiple offers, waived inspection. So you still do see that. And that's what makes this really murky to go through there. So if I'm in a condo in Redmond, you're probably not getting multiple offers and inspection waivers in that market. But if I'm on the top of Queen Anne and I have a house that's turnkey ready, or the ones like we're talking about, it's your odds of that happening go way, way up. So it's you really need someone with expertise that knows what they're doing. So not all of these things are the same. And as Don said, when you do your extra work as a seller, you are increasing your odds on specific property types of doing that. So, in that townhouse, you still want to have a turnkey ready property, but you got to realize that I'm competing against 79 townhouses. Whereas when I have that single family home with a garage on an alley on the top of Queen Anne, I might be competing against 2 or 3 other listings.
Yeah, and to put a bow around that, one of the reasons why you see homes beginning to enter the marketplace is people are letting go now of the 2.8% and that they got back during COVID, and they're like, okay, well, now I need to downsize, or I did lose a partner, or I did go through a divorce and I can't afford this anymore, or my job has shifted, or my kids have left and I am an empty nester. So we're seeing some of that shift as well. And when we talk about the 2022 number, it's something that we've always pointed out, because that's the 2.8% number. It's amazing when I talk about that with other realtors. I'm like, and I talked to them about 2022. It's interesting that Javila was aware of that, because a lot of real estate agents are not aware to look at that number. And why was there such a spike in 2022? It was the last of the 2.8% money. So, and people that are out shopping right now, they want a deal. They want turnkey. I'm sitting with a couple buyers right now, and we're just letting the marketplace, in particular 2 places, we're just letting the market beat it up. We're just waiting. We're sitting, and one of the properties has been on 70 days, and they have not done one price improvement in 70 days, and they're going to be there 70 more days if they don't do a significant price improvement. So it's stupid to jump in and write an offer now and give them leverage. So it can be the waiting game. But yeah, if you have something that's unique, that's turnkey, there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of people in the marketplace, and they're going to compete for that. So, hey, if you need our help, ronanddonsitdown.com. We love sitting down with you. And sometimes we sit down. In fact, we just did a sit down where I ate all my dim sum.
Yeah, you did.
And then some.
You had some shrimp, so I was proud of you.
Yeah. And then you took the leftovers home. I have to say, anytime I go for dim sum, it's just everything is real jelly-ish to me. And
I don't like that mouthfeel.
And it's really fat. There's a lot of fat in all of it, and I don't like it. That's the part I don't like.
But you did well.
I did my best.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did my best. We did a sit-down, had some dim sum, and then we went and looked at a house over in West Seattle. Beautiful home over there. So we'll be chatting about that more in the future when we bring that thing on. So, hey, you guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. We sure do appreciate it. Thanks to Matt for producing today's show and all the little videoettes that you see online on our Facebook and our Instagram feeds. That's all Matt. So thanks to Matt for doing that. Want to thank Charlie for coming in today and laying on the floor.
He did great.
He's just laying there.
He's a hot dog.
Yeah, it's very hot out in the car right now. I couldn't leave
Very
him
hot
out
in
there.
the studio right now.
Yeah, and then it's hard to find parking because there was a big fire over in Ballard, and it's right next to our studios, and so you can't sneak park over there anymore.
No.
So it'd be difficult.
Plus the eviction of all the homeless people is parking barricades everywhere.
Yeah. Hopefully I
Anyway.
didn't get towed where I had to park. So, hey, if you need us, just reach out, ronandonsitdown.com, and then we can't say enough about Team Lisa, right?
Yeah, she's been fantastic, and especially if you're in the situation, and we deal with this almost weekly now, I want to buy before I sell, so I only have to move once. Lisa has some great mortgage products for you to look at if you're in that regard, or in that circumstance. So reach out to her and tell her Ron and Don sent you.
Yeah, and by the time you hear this, we're going to be on in Redmond, Washington. So I can't wait to tell you about our home in Redmond, Washington, and another really cool home coming on Queen Anne by the time that you hear this.
And by the time you hear this, congratulations to Argentina. Cut. Congratulations to Spain. Cut. Congratulations to England. First time in 60 years. Cut. That you are the World Cup champion.
And I would leave all that in.
Cut.
Cut. RonandDonSitDown.com. Till next time, head up, shoulders back. You've been listening to the Ron and Don Show all night. Excuse me. On the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Well, that's it. Show's over. We'll see you next time on the Ron and Don Radio Network.